Hi everyone! Today we're going to learn about Lesson 29, which is all about the Inca civilization. So the Inca were people of a culture in the Andes Mountains of South America that arose in the 1400s and lasted until 1532. Their empire stretched 25,000 miles from the Pacific coast in the west to the Amazon River in the east. Most of their empire is in what is now present-day Peru. The Inca emerged from the Moches and the Chimus people. The Moches were around from 100 BCE to 770 CE and were located along the northern coast of Peru. And the Chimu were around from 1300s to the 1400s, also in northern Peru. You might have heard of the Inca before with Machu Picchu, which is what is pictured in this picture. We'll talk more about Machu Picchu later. So Cusco was the center and capital of the Inca Empire. There was a lot of events and things that went on here, and a lot of people lived in Cusco. So the Inca believed that they were descended from the sun god Inti and his son Manco Capac. Manco Capac founded the Inca tribe, and he expanded the empire out and attacked the Chancas. And the army leader Yapuki defeated the Chancas in a battle, and then they seized the throne, and he became known as Patacuchi, which translates to Earth Shaker in the Incan language. So he basically became the first king of the Incas, or the first ruler, and under him the army became very large and a lot more skilled. Also during this time, there were two main roads that connected the entire Inca Empire. There was the coastal road, which went along the coast, and the inland road, which went throughout the rest of the empire. And basically, there was 25,000 miles of roads total. They went through tropical jungles. There were high mountains in this area and a lot of raging rivers. About every 15 to 30 miles, there was different shelters for the messengers and people traveling along the road to rest in. This enabled the Inca to communicate with a lot of different places since it was very easy to get from one place to another. The Chakis were Inca messengers, and they tended to travel 150 miles a day. So they basically ran these roads because there weren't things like cars during this time. And they would run the messages, rest for a little bit, then run some more the next day. The Inca had no system of writing. They did everything by verbal messages. And they also had something called a quipu, which was a set of strings with knots tied at various places to represent numbers. So again, not having a written system, they didn't have written numbers, so they used a quipu, like pictured in this picture here, to do any math they might have needed to do. So the emperor in the Inca society was called a Sapa Inca. They believed that he was descended from Inti, or the sun god, like I talked about previously, and the Inca Empire ruled with complete authority. Servants carried the empire around in an elaborate chair all day, so he did not walk if he did not want to, and subjects were not allowed to look him in the eye. He had many wives and hundreds of children, and he had one primary wife, the Koya, who would be like his main wife. Underneath the emperor was then nobles was next up. Nobles were leaders who helped rule and administer the vast empire. They had gifts of land, servants, llamas, fine clothing. They did not have any taxes, and they could also marry more than one wife, just like the emperors. So they were very highly ranked. But within the nobles, there were three different ranks. There was the Capac Incas, the Hahua Incas, and the Caracas. So basically, the Capac Incas were like the top of the nobles. They controlled the empires as well as all the valuable resources and held the most important positions. So it was their job to kind of help the ruler oversee the empire. The Hahua Incas were Incas by privilege. So basically, they were born into it, but they were non-royal leaders. They didn't really do too much. And then we have the Caracas, who were local leaders of conquered people, and their job was to collect taxes and be inspectors. So think of it as how the emperor is kind of, maybe think of it as like the president. The Capac Incas is more like the president's cabinet. The Hahua Incas are, just some other rulers, and then Caracas would be more like the mayors or governors of different states. And all of these nobles were only allowed to rule in the Incan way. They had to follow that, or else they could not be a ruler. Then underneath nobles, we had commoners. So most commoners worked in fields or were herders, so that meant like took care of animals. They did not practice slavery, so this was different than the Aztec and the Maya that we've previously talked about. The Inca did not have any slaves. They did all of their own work. Commoners supported the government through labor and government-sponsored projects, so basically the government would pay them to go do different jobs, such as building roads or weaving cloth. And farmers grew a variety of crops. Their main crops were corn and potatoes. And they gave most of the crops to the government so other people who could not work could have food. So think of like the elderly or children. They shared the wealth to make sure everyone was well fed and taken care of in the Inca Empire. So now we have family life. So the Alu was an Incan clan and the basic unit of Incan society. They lived in small villages to large towns, different people across the Inca Empire, and everything was communal or shared by a community or a town. So like I talked about in the previous slide, they shared their food with anyone who needed it. Everyone had responsibilities and every single person had to work, obviously, unless you were too young or too old. There was one head person per every 10 households. So think of it as like there was one person who oversaw all 10 households and made sure that taxes were being paid and they were doing what they should be doing and everyone was working. Taxes were paid in goods and labor. They did not have a currency. So a third of the goods and labor would go to the Sapa Inca. So remember, that's like the ruler. A third would go to the Incan temples to um, as an offering to the gods, and then a third was allowed to keep for themselves. So in the Inca society in childhood, you learn responsibilities a lot earlier in life. Young children performed a lot of tasks at home. Young girls were in charge of taking care of babies, fetching water, cooking, they made clothing, they learned to weave, and boys looked after animals and helped in the fields. There was no formal education, but they learned skills from their elders. So all of those things they learned from their parents, grandparents. Except in noble families, the boys did have tutors. At the age of 15, noble boys underwent a month-long test of courage, strength, and discipline, and that was basically the end of their schooling. So for marriage, you remained at home until you were married. Commoners were allowed to have one wife, but like I talked about, the nobles and the ruler had more than one wife. Men were usually married at 20 and girls were married at 16, so a little higher than some of the other societies we've talked about. And they lived in a one-room house versus nobles, though, they got to live in fancier houses with servants. Again, not slaves. So religion was a very important part of Inca life, and gods influenced their lives daily. They controlled different aspects of nature, so they had like the weather god, the sea god, etc. So lots of different gods for different things, just like the Maya and the Aztec. The Inti was the sun god, and he was the most important in the Inca society because they believed that the emperor's family was descended from Inti and that agriculture was very important, and you needed sun in order to grow all of those crops. So huacas were sacred objects and places that spirits dwelled. So they believed that the spirits of people who had died lived in these objects, and they also believed in an afterlife. And people often prayed and made offering to the huacas because, again, they believed that they were actual spirits. So, they had a very formal religion that required a lot of priests. They did offer sacrifices to the gods. Some happened daily, like they would throw corn on the fire, like I talked about how it was split in thirds, and a third of your crops would go to the gods, so that's one way they sacrificed. They also sacrificed animals like llamas and guinea pigs. And only occasionally they did human sacrifices, not as much as the Aztec and the Maya. They only did it during sacred times or times of danger. They also practiced divination, the art of predicting the future. So they would use an oracle, which is a person through whom a god or a spirit is believed to speak about the future, and the oracle would tell them about what was to come. So each year, beautiful, graceful, and talented women were chosen between the ages of 8 and 10 to live in covenants. These were known as chosen women, and they learned to prepare special food and drink for religious ceremonies and wove a lot of different garments. So this was a different path These women didn't get married. At 15, they went to work in temples, became teachers, or, sorry, some of them would become wives of nobles. A few of them would be sacrificed, and then in their old age, they returned home. But they married nobles, not commoners. So they had some relationships with other tribes. So basically, what would happen is they'd send a delegate to that tribe. They would tell the delegate of the other tribe to join the empire peacefully, and they could enjoy the peace and prosperity of the Inca Empire, or the Inca would declare war on them. Many chose to join peacefully because they liked a lot about what the Inca stood for. They would help retain local power, and if they resisted, then that meant a battle, and the Inca usually won, much like the Aztec. Many of them would adopt the Incan ways and built a sun temple, but they were still allowed to worship their own gods as long as they worshiped the Incan gods first. Local leaders were brought to Cusco to study Incan laws and language so then they could go back, still, again, retain their local power, but also run things in an Incan way. Quechua was the Incan language that they learned and spoke mostly during this time. So a lot of new territories had Incan-style villages. So they had a lot of storehouses, irrigation systems, and terrace farming. So remember I talked about in the Maya section about terrace farming. In this picture, this shows what terrace farming is like. So you can see they're like little stairs, and they would plant a different type of crop on each ring. And this helped them be able to grow more things. A lot of important religious objects went to Cusco, and that's where they lived for people to view them. Um, Sometimes the Inca failed to bring a tribe fully into the empire, so when they couldn't, bring them in peacefully, they'd often kill the local leader and then move the rebellious tribes to other parts of the empire. So basically, they would break up the other empire and incorporate them in other places in the Inca Empire.